Hello, Broad Coven and Parlor Tricks as well. I'm going ahead and letting this broadcast over to my new channel over there because I am going to be bringing these revolution reports over to that neck of the woods after we get done with our community Panchakarma here. But I did want to introduce this concept to the Broad Coven community while we were going through this time of transformation with each other, moving through the free courses we got going on at Cobra's Medicine Bag, which you can access those anytime you like. They'll serve you well throughout the fall season and leading into winter time, okay? Just keep you nice and stabilized and in a place where you're really feeling supported, mind, body, spirit, as we move into Vata season. So there's 2 courses available there. We got the Roots with Wings course, which is 6 weeks to build Vata resilience. And then we have the Grace and Crisis course, which is all about how to use Ayurveda to support you during times of transition, which is what we're all facing right now. This is a very revolutionary time at this point in history. And also just within our personal lives and all the changes that we've been dealing with and navigating over the past few years. You know, it's a really interesting time for all of us. I'm going to go ahead and turn on comments because this is live. But I wanted to do this read today because I just felt like it was very much in harmony with what was coming in for the course material. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that want to come in around the course material at the end of this, but I want to dive right into the download. There is this piece that I really wanted to address because the last hexagram we got left off with a few days ago was really talking about this picture of absolute stagnation. You know, we were looking at the Kuhn energy with the marsh leaking below and not having the water, the sustenance it needs for things to grow, and the tree not having what it needs to really thrive and branch out. And I felt like, wow, I don't want to leave things off on that level, especially with the material we were into this week, which is all about vision questing or getting a vision for our future. You know, what vision questing means to me is something that, you know, has been kind of distorted by cultural appropriation, just from, you know, the way it's used is sort of a new agey type of term, but it's actually a specific rite of passage and going off into the wilderness to often fast and enter into a prayerful state and get some kind of guidance from spirit. It's also about confronting our fears, confronting the places inside where we have yet to kind of rise up to the challenge, you know. It's about getting your chops up, and often it is a rite of passage that comes with like a coming of age, often for boys, you know, but certainly I'm not restricted according to those kind of norms. And for me, I've done plenty of vision quest in my life, and often in nature, and sometimes not in nature, sometimes out on the ether, sometimes in the outer dimensions, you know. We live in a modern world, and we don't always have the time or the ability to take off an extended period to go vision questing. And so there's times when I've really wanted to tap into the spirit of making contact with nature, dropping in and getting the guidance I needed to navigate tricky territory. And so I started doing that on a daily basis, just creating like these mini opportunities to, I guess you could call it micro dosing, you know, a vision quest experience. I mean, it's not quite the same, right? It's not going to be the same, but it's kind of the same principle as working with Panchakarma that we're doing here, where we're doing it self-care style, you know. I think that you can still achieve a really profound result if maybe you lengthen the time of practice, you know, and you kind of adopt more of this spirit of consistency and having almost a devotional practice with it, as opposed to just going out for a few days or overnight. Vision questing traditionally, it varies. It varies is until you get the medicine, right? And that's different for each person, but I found that much like doing this self-care panchakarma, if you can kind of stretch out this time for dropping into nature and dropping into yourself and creating space to take your most pressing questions, or those areas where you really feel like you're stuck at a crossroads and you're trying to feel out, what's my next step? I'm not quite sure what I should do next. The more we can create space and room for the answer to come in and have this as our focus, then the more effective it is. And I find that 30 days is usually a good time period, 30 to 40 days. I really enjoy 40 days, just traditionally working in tandem with panchakarma, because a lot of times I like to work with different mantras, and a lot of different mantra practices are recommended that you follow through with them for 40 days to get the CD or the power of activating that mantra. Vision questing, I think you can get a lot done in 30 days. 30 days allows for that, like 21 days is kind of standard for breaking through a rut, breaking through a set pattern or a way of viewing things, seeing things. If you stick with something consistently for 21 days, they say it's easier to integrate this approach to your life, whatever you're trying to change, whatever habit you're trying to transform, something you're trying to release, let go of, or even something like this, just having a set focus can really root that behavior or create a good foundation for moving forward. So I like this, giving that 21 days and then also allowing some room for integration, which is why I like 30 days in general as a bare minimum. But you certainly could pair, like a vision questing type journey with this, with this spirit of going through panchakarma. It can be a whole comprehensive thing. In fact, your panchakarma can be devoted to this kind of vision questing. You know what I'm saying? And does that mean that you're going to be, fasting the whole time or off in the wilderness, unplugged from everything? No, but can you create spaces for this? Absolutely. Can you create spaces where you do block off this time on a daily basis and you drop in with the natural world and you drop in with your soul and you create just this emptiness, so you can be in this state of, like, I like to call it the pregnant pause. It's when nothing really seems to be happening, but everything is happening simultaneously. So, I feel like this is a good time to kind of drop in with the revolution report, especially after that last hexagram we got. I mean, it was unchanging. That didn't feel too good. It's like, okay, so the collective is in this state of stagnancy. They're depleted. They're exhausted. They feel hopeless. They have no sense of inspiration. And yet this situation looks really intractable because everybody's too fixed and stubborn to, like, get going and get a different point of view. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Something about that just really bothered me, that the collective was stuck at this place, because it really showed that that energy of the age of apathy and ignorance was, like, taking a stronghold. And, there's a fine balance between looking at what isn't working or what needs to be addressed in society, in the world at large, in our own lives. And when too much focus on that, too much focus on what's wrong or what needs to be fixed or what's going to hell in a handbasket, it ends up becoming a detriment. You know what I'm saying? It almost can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And, there's this thing, there's a fine balance, man, okay? Because you can't also have your rose-colored glasses on and be overly optimistic, deluded, just kind of looking at things from a castles in the sky kind of perspective. We have to be rooted and down to earth in the way we're looking at things. But if you don't have anything to sort of like aim for or move towards or invest any kind of belief in, then there's no way that things can change. There's no way that things can get better. And certainly that applies on a collective level, but also individually in our own lives. So some people really pride themselves on just like, I'm a straight shooter. And I mean, I'm a straight shooter too. All right. But part of, being a truth teller, even when you're a whistleblower, you're somebody who has to bring forward some harsh truths, light up something for people, is you can't just leave them hanging there in that place where it's like, oh, all of this sucks and gee whiz, I don't know what we're going to do about it. But hey, keep your chin up. That's not a way to really stir the people. It's not a way to motivate. It's not a way to create change. It's not a way to motivate ourselves to change, okay? If we're looking at life through that lens where we're just focusing on everything that's broken, everything that isn't working, all the places where everything's stuck, there has to be some kind of balance, some kind of optimism, something to aim for, a goal, an aspiration, a motivational point. Because if you don't have that, everything just, stagnates. And that's where we were. I was like, no, I can't abide by that, so I just kind of want to bring this piece forward because I hear it a lot from people. It's like, it's great to be a truth teller and to take pride in that, to be a straight talker and, to want to illuminate things that people choose to sweep under the rug. It's an important role to play, to be that kind of mouthpiece. But it's also important that you don't just like drop the bomb on people and, expose things, but that you also maybe provide some kind of guidance for how we can get the energy moving. Because if not, you're part of the problem still. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's great, illuminate what's not working for people, but then what are you doing to help people kind of navigate that? So if you're going to take it upon yourself to be somebody who's going to be a whistleblower, you're going to speak the truth, or you want to wake people up, which this is really debatable. How much can we really wake people up? Awakening is something that really happens internally, and it all depends on a person's readiness, willingness, and often it's arrived at through kind of rough means. We're usually shocked out of our inertia. We're shocked out of our complacency. We have a tower, and that's what makes us see everything in a brand new way. And I just thought, I felt like I gave what I could in terms of support, because I'm fumbling through it with all of you as well, right? I'm going through it too. I'm learning right alongside all you guys. I'm going through all the changes that the collective is facing as well. But I feel like if I'm going to speak to it, then, got to get some guidance for how we can move forward. And I just really had, a hard time sitting with this piece about the collectives in this state of just stagnancy and fixedness. I'm like, no, like I can't abide by it, man. But I'm happy to say that I cast the I Ching this morning for the collective just to see where things were heading. And looks like y'all are on the precipice of a change, because this is the one thing that's constant in life. Change is constant. So even if you're stuck, it doesn't matter. Eventually what ends up happening is the wheel has to turn. That's how karma works, okay? And we're all on this wheel of karma. We're all riding this out together. So there's no way to avoid that. I mean, stagnancy is an illusion in and of itself, all right? It's a self-perpetuated storyline. It's not really anything that's in harmony with the true nature of reality. We know that nothing can stay fixed for long. So it was interesting because when I cast the I Ching today, we got the very last hexagram in the Book of Changes, which is number 64, and it's called Wei Qi, and it means before completion. All right, so things moved. All right, we're not in the stagnant position anymore, and I'm happy to say that we had 3 changing lines with this hexagram. So we're on the move, okay? Things are in process right now, and I was looking at what was coming up this week. So we got quite a bit ahead of us that we need to be prepared for. I do want to let you know that right now we're heading through the devil's country, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. That's actually one of the moving lines that we have. It was for the 4th line in this 64th hexagram of the I Ching. And it just talked about certain tests that are coming our way. So I just want to go into this a little bit. I'm going to get some cards on the board. I decided since we got this Devil's Country piece in play here, I wanted to work with the Occult Tarot that tends to deal a little bit more with the underbelly of life. So I think it's important that we do talk about these things. But it's also important that we get some guidance for how we can move through it. So that's what we're going to do. Look at this. We got on the bottom of the deck, we have the King of Pentacles, turns any metal into gold, gives one high offices and titles, answers questions about past, present, and future. Earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. This is also steadfastly moving towards a goal. Notice the horse medicine there. Horse is about power. Horse is about movement. We are moving forward. We're not in that stagnant place anymore. We're also steadily heading up to that north node. We want to actualize it. We want to root it. We want to arrive at that point of our destiny. We're not there yet, though. And with this Pentacles energy, this is a key. We know that what was set in motion by the Pentacles energy is the Knight planting that seed, which we're at that point right now. We know we haven't done this yet, okay? But some of you are trying to really like cut to the chase. You want to be at this point of actualization. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. It's coming. It's on its way, but you're not there yet. And in fact, this is going to be one of these things where wherever you're feeling called to invest now, you really have to be prepared that it's going to be a journey. You're not going to get there overnight. It's really going to take your dedication and your commitment, all right? But we know that after you get through with this cycle, after you cut any karmic ties that are left over to your attachment to the way things used to be, and you truly move into this place of allowing that things are going to start to move forward for you, collective, all right? This is the deal. We're on the threshold of a change right now, and there is something that's coming in this week. It's a bit of a Murphy's Law type of environment, all right? So anything that can go wrong will go wrong, all right? You might be finding yourself dealing with a lot of challenges right now, or just feeling like in general there's really a spanner in the works, or that things are unnecessarily difficult, unnecessarily complicated. The problem is that you're trying to like continue to operate in the same way as you did in the past. And there's something you really need to understand here, that you're a stranger in a strange land. This energy that we got with this hexagram for Wei Qi, in this particular hexagram, we have the water element is below and the fire element is above. Well, you know, this is a little bit out of order here. This shows us that there's certain things we need to get in their proper order, okay? Because when you have fire below water, this is good. We can really get things cooking, you know what I'm saying? We can get that cauldron of Dagda going. We can get something that can be an inexhaustible source of nourishment that feeds everybody, right? There's enough to go around. Everybody eats, everybody's nourished, everything grows, everything flourishes. It's big time, that collective consciousness that comes in with the dawning of the age of Aquarius. But when you got to, you know, reverse, not so much. Does it mean there's no nourishment available? No. You may not be looking at it that way, because with the fire element be above, you're kind of like shaking your fist at the sky, like Lieutenant Dan style. Like, God, is that the best you got? You know? Some of you may be feeling like that, a little worse for the wear. You know, you feel like you've been through a lot. You're tired of feeling so like held back, so stuck, you know, or dealing with one challenge after another, or just kind of just wanting more of just like a consistency in your life, and to feel like where you are heading toward a goal that's really important to your heart, or where you are trying to, create change in the world or activate your vision, you want to see that you're getting more progress than you are. You might be feeling like you're really spinning your wheels in some cases. And I feel like this is really coming up in relation to our relations and how we relate to people, how we get along with other people. Okay, this is really front and center at this time. But we know with the water element being below, it takes water to make things grow. It takes nurturing. When we're looking at water quality, we got to look at the piece that's about emotional investment. Is our heart in it? Because only if your heart is truly in it can you give the kind of energy and the patience and the time and the consideration and the space and the nurturing that's required to make something big come into being. And this is the piece that we have to remember. It's like, if you take the easy way, all right, you're not going to achieve much. I mean, people who really hit a point of success in their lives or who achieve really great things. And when we're looking certainly from a collective standpoint, just really trying to change the course of the direction that society is heading in right now, we know that this is a great working. We're undertaking, like, how can we create that level of change? Well, we know it begins with us. And we know it begins with, being the change we want to see in the world, obviously. Just that mirroring energy, macrocosm reflected in microcosm. If we don't hold our peace, how can we expect others to do that? So accountability is a really big part of this, okay? Taking responsibility. I love the way that Sadhguru talks about responsibility. I think it's really profound, and I think it absolutely has an effect on moving forward in the future, is really understanding what responsibility means. People have sort of a distorted sense of what it means to be responsible. They think it means to be burdened. They think it means saying yes to everything, taking everything on, getting to the point where they feel that exhaustion, where they feel overwhelmed, where they get to the point where they want to throw in the towel. That's actually not being responsible. It's actually being rather irresponsible, honestly. When viewed in the light of the way that Sadhguru has spoken of responsibility, which I had the pleasure of learning about when I went through his inner engineering training, which was really beneficial. And speaking of something that can be supportive for navigating a way into the future on a collective level, I highly recommend that course that Sadhguru offers. It is so valuable. It's such valuable training, and it can absolutely serve you on every level in your life. And I mean, I'm not affiliated with Sadhguru in any way. I just really love the way he deals with things on a kind of a shoot straight from the hip sort of level, but also that he brings forward such simplicity and the way he grounds what he has to share in such a way that it has such value. It has such value in application in day-to-day reality. He really is able to bring these higher concepts down to earth in a way that can be rooted in your day-to-day life, and this piece he brought in about responsibility forever changed the way I look at that word and what it means. And he said, responsibility means you understand unconditionally that you always have the ability to respond. I loved that. I loved that. I mean, the etymology of the word respond, response, and then the ability part, ability, response, ability. You have the ability to respond. And sometimes responding means you say no to something or you don't take something on. Responding means that you don't look away from something, that you look at it. But then when you look at it, you ask yourself, what is the appropriate response to this situation? So when we're looking at it in the framework of what we were dealing with, a few days ago when I cast the I Ching, where it was this stagnancy and this desire to throw in the towel. And yet there's this desire for progress and change. So these two things are not harmonious. To throw in the towel when you want progress is not being responsible. It is not considering how can I respond to this situation, even though I am bumping up against these difficulties or this intractableness. Instead, it's staying in a very fixed position, and it's kind of akin to like a temper tantrum. It's like a child who isn't getting their way, and so they just like throw themselves on the ground, you know? You remember that when you were a kid? You know, we've all seen kids do this, and we've done it ourselves when we were a child. There was something that, you know, our parents wanted us to do. We didn't want to do it. What did we do? We like threw ourselves on the ground. We made our bodies stiff when they tried to pick us up. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like it never worked to our advantage, did it? We didn't get anywhere. I mean, we may have caused a scene. We may have gotten people to kind of like pay attention to what we were doing, but it didn't mean we got our way, right? And I think you're probably dealing with a lot of that kind of energy right now. I think that energy is very front and center in the collective. I also think people are tired of dealing with it, you know, and they just can't figure out, like, I don't know how to get you to see things my way, or I don't know how to get you to understand. But the big piece that's coming in here with hexagram 64 before completion is that we really need to recognize that right now we're strangers in a strange land. We're wanderers. We're trying to find our way. We're navigating our way through the wilderness. And the problem is we keep looking at maps that are based on the past territory we already traveled through, and we're not in that place anymore. We're all together somewhere new, and we're not quite sure what the lay of the land is, all right? So you can't look at the old maps. They don't work in this environment. They just don't. You can use the GPS of the past, and you're going to find you're just going to keep going in circles. You'll be stuck on like this old loop, you know? You'll find that everything in your life just kind of stagnates. You'll feel like you're sitting and spinning, you know? You might be telling some people to sit and spin, all right? I mean, you may be feeling like that. You may be feeling like, F this, man. I'm out. But something's going to happen this week that's going to give you the progress that you were looking for. That's for certain with Wei Qi. Things are not going to stay the same. Unfortunately, this is going to come through for a lot of you through Murphy's Law. This is when you're going to have a tower. You're going to have the rug pulled out from under you, or you're going to have to get drugged a long, hard mile because you weren't willing to get moving on your own. Some of you may be really bringing this on, and this has everything to do with our first moving line that we got, which is the line in the third position. And the caution that comes with this line is before completion, attack brings misfortune. It furthers one to cross the great water. What does this mean? This means that you may be just like so hell-bent on getting your way or moving forward that you're like, you know what? I'm going to force it. This is when you bring out the battering ram, and you know, you find that you end up bringing down the whole castle when you were hoping to seize the castle, right? It's when, you know, you use too much force and it creates disastrous results. There's something here that you really need to consider because you're really close to your goal, all right? We may not realize that. We're really close to a certain arrival point on our paths. Now, this applies not only personally, but it applies collectively as well. And what I feel is speaking to on the collective level is that there is a turning of the tide in consciousness happening right now. I don't know how many of you have been really picking it up. A lot of it depends on where you place your awareness and who you're hanging out with and what circles you're running in and what you choose to focus on. But the reality is there's a lot of people that are wanting to come together right now. As much as there is division, as much as that's been the algorithm that's been programming the collective consciousness for a hot minute now, there's a lot of people that are breaking free of the programming. There's a lot of people that want to figure out, how can we come together? How can we get beyond this? How can we pull our energy, our resources together? How can we find a way out of this, you know? And there's people that are really starting to recognize, like, we can't do it if we're all fighting each other. Like, there's just no way. So that's really powerful to have this starting to really shift in the collective consciousness. It is happening. It's one homecoming. It's one arrival point in what is going to be a long, extended journey. Okay. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight. Nothing that's going to happen overnight. I'm going to look at these in a minute, but I kind of want to finish this thought, this download, before I end up going down a rabbit hole and getting lost on the way there. But we also have to look at that on the microscopic level of what's happening in our own internal reality, our own emotional experience, our own healing process, you know, arriving at some arrival point in our own healing journey, and what that looks like. To arrive means that obviously there's something that was left behind, right? Because you've been moving forward. So hopefully you're getting close to a time when you're finally going to be able to, like, let go this thing, be able to let go your attachment to the past, or your attachment to a narrative you've had about yourself or your life, an attachment you've had to a real stuck, fixed point of view that's actually been working against you. For some of you, it's an attachment to an unhealthy pattern that you've been, you know, kind of on a repeat loop with, or a stuck point you're in a relationship, you know. But we know you've been moving towards something. There's energy you've been applying. It's just that it started to feel so stuck and gridlocked that you almost lost hope there and threw in the towel. And life's just not going to have that. Okay, what we're heading into now, you know, a natural point after stagnancy is entropy, and that's where we are at right now. We're at the point where things have degraded to such a point that chaos has to come in. It's what needs to happen. Things decline, things unravel, things come undone so they can come together in a new way, in an innovative way. And that's where we're at right now. And because people have been very reluctant to change their fixed positions, because people have moved into that apathy and they've succumbed to this stagnancy and just like, oh, why bother? You know, that's how we're ending up before completion. This means that now chaos has to take reign and say, all right, that's fine. Nothing stays stuck in life. I mean, you can stay stuck. That's a choice, but you're going to get, you know, you're going to get moved forward on this path, whether you like it or not, whether you choose to do that, you know, stand in, walking tall with your head held high, or whether you get, you know, drug a long, hard mile. It's a matter of preference. Some people prefer to get drugged, you know, that's just the way it is. Some people prefer to do things the hard way. They're stubborn, you know, they're stubborn. And this too, you know, is part of the path. Sometimes we're like that. Sometimes we're stubborn. I know that I've been really stubborn at points in my life, and that was the only way I could learn, was by life hitting me over the head with something, you know, knocking some sense into me. So a lot of people are going to be having these aha kind of moments. You know, it's not the most enjoyable experience to have, but at least you're not going to be stuck anymore. You're not going to be in that Eight of Swords, like whatever comes is going to, you know, knock you out of this place of complacency and force you to really look at things as they are. You can't deny the reality anymore, okay? So do be looking for, you know, some kind of like anything that will go wrong, you know, or anything that will go well. Things are going to go wrong, you know, in some area of your life, something ain't right, okay? And anything that can go wrong will go wrong, which gives you a big clue with this hexagram about the proper way to move forward. The proper way to move forward is mindfully, all right? Right when you're about to have some success, that's when you're most likely to, you know, feel like giving up. We've seen that meme that's gone around where, you know, somebody's like, they're trying to get to that treasure, you know, and they got their pickaxe and they're in that underground, you know, tunnel, and they're just almost there, you know, they're almost there, just inches, and they get to the gold, right? Inches, they get to the gold, and then they give up. They give up and they go the other way, and then they miss out, you know. The difference between people who achieve great things and people who kind of just like stay, you know, looking at, you know, what they think are people who got unfair advantages in life, which, I mean, yes, there are inequities in life for sure. Absolutely. You know, I'm not going to say there's not. But at the same time, there's a big piece of how that's often used as a cop-out, okay? Reality is what you make of it. We all get dealt the hand we're dealt in this life, but part of being an alchemist means that you play that hand and you play that hand well, you know? You don't just fold, okay? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, you know when to walk away, know when to run, you know? You got to know how to play your hand. And you got to know how to keep a few, a few things up your sleeve. And you also have to know when to hold your cards, close to your chest. There's a time and a place for everything. But one thing we know is that, if you want to win big, you got to take risk, you got to take risk and you have to know how to play your hand well. So that means you're invested in writing it out. You don't just like fold just because maybe you don't have the strongest hand, right? You figure out how you can be strategic, This piece in play, it's also this piece of, you got to stay committed to whatever you're trying to set in motion, this new way that you're carving forward. You got to figure out a way to make it work. All we know is what you've been doing isn't working, but there's a clue here about why it's not working. It's not working because you're trying to do it the same way you always have. You're relying on your false knowledge of the situation. And I say it's false knowledge because everything that you know about the situation you're dealing with right now is being informed by your past. And your past has absolutely nothing to do with this situation anymore. I don't care if you're dealing with a past person. I don't care if it's a past problem. It has no bearing on the present situation you're dealing with. You may be dealing with a past person. This may be an old issue, but what you're dealing with is brand new. The environment is brand new. It will not respond to the same tactics that you used before. It is not going to shift position from where it's at now. Somebody, something in this situation has gone through a transformation, and that transformation is not able to be undone. That's the thing, is once something's grown, okay, once something has transformed, it's nearly impossible to get it to revert back to its old form. Think of a snake shedding its skin. Snake is the medicine of transformation. We just entered, Scorpio season, and Scorpio in Native American zodiac is the birth totem of snake. And this is kind of this energy we're working within right now. It is that solar return time for snake medicine, okay? So it's like, once you shed a skin, you can't like go and put it back on. It's gone. So that's what you're dealing with here. Either you're the one who's changed or you're the one who needs to change, and you're dealing with somebody who's already shed their skin. Or this situation's already shed its skin. Like there's too many years, there's too much water under the bridge or blood on the tracks. Like something is fundamentally changed in this situation since you were last dealing with it, since you were last encountering it. Some of you are dealing with a situation that has blockage there, okay? But it reminds you, this situation reminds you of something you went through, like to a T, like the details, everything. You feel like it's a deja voodoo moment. You're like, wait a minute, I've been in this situation before. Like there's so many things that ding for you. And because of this, it's also super activating. But what part of you is it activating? Is it activating you as you are now with all you've learned, all your life experience, all your new perspective that you have? Hopefully you've been growing and progressing on your path, okay? I don't believe you wouldn't have been. You wouldn't even be tuning in for something like this, titled Revolution Report, if you weren't somebody that was a forward thinker, So I assume you've been like moving forward on your path. You've been choosing to grow, and you've been making some uncomfortable changes in your life. And now you're finding that you're bumping up against all this gridlock, and largely from outside of yourself. And that's because you're bumping up against rigid structures that are refusing to change. But this is exactly when you need to think about a new way forward, okay? It either means like this route isn't for you anymore, you need to go in a completely new direction, or you need to learn how to operate within this, framework in a totally brand new way. You got to find a way around, right? There's another way around this situation. There's a different perspective you need to have. And it needs to be a perspective that doesn't lead you into further oppression or entanglement, but ends up being like a key that springs the lock and sets you free. Okay, it's about moving into greater expansion. So here's the thing. You're going to have tests, challenges. You're heading into a test period. That's what it means to move through the devil's country, all right? And that's what we're looking at when we're looking at the fourth line changing. We know that before we can move forward with the third line changing in the 64th hexagram, that we got to do something different, We got to get it to the point where we're not just like throwing our fists up at the sky and, demanding that we get saved. We got to save ourselves, right? That's what it means to have the fire above and the water below. It's like you're wanting things nurtured below, but you're putting your focus on what's above. Like you're bitching to God about it, or you think that life's against you. You're having your Lieutenant Dan moment, and you're yelling at the heavens, but you're not understanding. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I got to nurture it. I'm the one who has to figure out a way around this. I'm the one who needs to get in touch with that water element. I need to feel what I'm feeling and really get in touch with this and think about ways that I might be skewed, in my perspective, or ways that I'm being intractable and I'm not being like water. I'm not being accommodating. I'm not being in that spirit of yes. I'm more no and more fixed and more contracted and more closed. And I'm getting in my own way because I keep going at something like with a battering ram. I'm trying to force my way through. I'm trying to force a fit. I'm trying to fit, a round dowel into a square, hole. It's not going to work. It's not going to fit. These pieces don't fit. So it's either, get out your jigsaw and cut a different shape so it can fit, okay, do something differently, or scrap that altogether and go about something a totally new way or in a totally new direction. This will be demanded, but we know that if we can get the nurturing in the right place, instead of just like complaining or lamenting or looking to the sky, oh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. It's like Chicken Little vibes, right? Instead, we really look at ourselves, and we look at how we need to nurture a different way forward. What do we need to do? We also need to be aware that, we just need to continue to stay the course with that Pluto in Capricorn energy. We just need to keep doing the work. Slow and steady wins the race. It's more tortoise than hare right now. We may be chomping at the bit. And this is when we could really blow it for ourselves if we get too ahead of ourselves and we're like, no, I'm just going to go on the attack. I'm going to force my way, or I'm going to go after that person. We already know from the caution that comes in with the third line moving that attack will bring misfortune. Forcing it is going to bring misfortune. And that's going to be a shame because you're super close to your goal. You're super close to having a breakthrough. You're super close to having some moment of arrival that you've been really working hard towards. It's wanting to come in for you. This is the beauty about the journey. It's like, yeah, it's not a straight ascent, but it's also not just level either. There's hills and valleys. So where you've been going through the valley, you're about to have a little bit of a come up, all right? Some encouragement, something that's going to nurture you, give you sustenance so you can keep going forward. I mean, you're playing the long game right now. Certainly we're playing the long game collectively, but this is also happening in our personal lives with any big dreams, any big visions, any big goals we have, or any really in-depth healing process we're in. we're very close to a moment of success that's really going to encourage us and make us feel like, okay, I am investing my energy in the right direction. You're about to have a confirmation moment here. There's also the piece that, you know, with the moving lines we got going on, hexagram 64, Wei Qi before completion, is in the process right now of changing to Jun, acceptance, penetration, the gentle penetrating wind. So this gives you a clue about how to help this change flow a little bit smoother, okay? It's not about hot air. It's not about attacking. It's not about reading somebody the riot act or trying to force them to bend to your will. It's about the gentle penetrating wind, which means more subtlety. It means more patience. It means allow things to simmer until they're really ready. You know what I mean? You'll know when it's time to strike. You'll know when it's time to make that big, bold move. You'll know because everything will be lined up in such a way, because you will have lined them up by laying down the proper foundation and tying up your loose ends, so there's nothing left undone that could prevent you from crossing that finish line. And it's just one finish line, because we know that one goal is hit, or one level of experience, or one moment of success, there's going to be more to be done, and certainly on a collective level, but also with this big goal that you're trying to achieve, or this big change you're trying to create in your life, this transformation you're wanting to experience in your life. So you have to do this in a measured way, and you got to read the room. If you're dealing with a lot of argumentative people, or there's a lot of drama or unrest or uncertainty or a lot of anxiety, fear flying around, that's not the right time to make a bold action, okay? It's time to really just pay attention to the energies in play, spot where there could be challenges moving forward. Think about ways that you may be getting in the way, or you may be a sabotaging influence in the situation. Get in touch with your own emotions. Find balance. Ask yourself, what is my responsibility in this situation? And view it in that framework of my ability to respond. What is my ability to respond in this situation? If it's something outside of yourself, something that's going on in your family or your friendship circle, and a lot of you, that is what's going on. There's strained communications, okay? Nobody can get on the same page. Everybody feels something differently. Then it's really up to you to figure out, do I have ability to respond in this situation? That's part of being responsible. Just recognizing, do I even have the ability to respond in this situation? Maybe you don't. Maybe there's a lot of other things you have on your plate, and maybe that's where you need to shift. And that is you being responsible, to release some responsibility. Do you understand? It's about really understanding where you're at in terms of your ability to respond. And not every situation is for you to respond to. This is part of what's causing the gridlock. This is part of what's causing the problem. Now, it's at this point that I want to bring in these cards that came out on the board. Yes, we got the Eight of Cups, okay? The Eight of Cups is about responding. And sometimes responding is to realize I can't invest here anymore. It's no longer my responsibility. And it's time for me to walk away from that and move forward. And I automatically think about this piece that's required with before completion, and that is to recognize that the past is gone, and it has no bearing on anything that's happening right now. Even if you're dealing with people from your past, it's not the same situation. You're in uncharted territory. So as long as you continue to hold on to the old narrative or the story or the way it went down in the past, or your usual tactics, like the ways that you dealt with things in the past, you're going to find it's not working. It just will not work. You're not going to be able to build a bridge and get over it. You won't. You all will stay locked, or you'll stay in this position where you can't bring things back together. You can't reconcile. You can't work things out. You can't heal. You can't find a way forward, okay? Because that way is gone. You got to really look at the past at this point with Libra in the South Node and the way the karmic cycles are all being weighed up. That what happened back there, it's like strike a match to it, man. Like that bridge has been burned. The bridge to the past is gone. And the only way that your past can really inform you now in a way that can be productive and moving you forward is go way back to the past, way back to your very roots. You know what I'm saying? It's about tapping into more of your bloodline. It's about tapping into your ancestral knowledge. It's about those fundamental things that are just coded in your DNA, the things that are coded in the very like marrow of your bones. Like that's what can inform you. But when you're dealing with situations with people, or you're dealing with a situation that, you know, is making the rounds again because maybe it just bears a striking resemblance to something you've already been through multiple times in your life, that's still not the past. You're in brand new territory. You've grown. There's been a passage of time, so you can't continue to play the same old tricks. A lot of people are running into this right now. They're dealing with somebody that they dealt with in the past, and one person in this situation has been through some radical like paradigm shift. Some person or some aspect of this situation has gone through a complete transformation in such a way that it no longer bears any resemblance to what it was before. And yet somebody in this situation keeps thinking that they're dealing with the same old, and it's not. And that's what's causing the problem. And so the person that thinks that the same old tricks will work, especially if you dealt with any kind of a situation where there was manipulation involved or underhandedness in any way, or somebody tried to get away with something or pull the wool over your eyes, these people are going, well, wait a minute, why isn't it working? It always worked before. They always, you know, would buy this hook, line, and sinker when I would bring this to them in the past. Why isn't it working now? And so a lot of people are experiencing this frustration. As this frustration picks up, a lot of these people, those that are moving that way, oh my gosh, I got so much sentience. I think a lot of you are dealing with this, okay? Those people that are dealing with things in that way because they're still too locked in the past and they don't understand, like, this situation's not the same. Like, it's not the past anymore. Like, snap out of it. We're in a whole new reality now, okay? But the people that are stuck there, they're the ones who are liable to go on the attack right now, okay? So be prepared for this, because this stuff's going to be coming at you. I hate to tell you, it will. This stuff's going to be coming at you. It's like the shadow is really getting a stronghold right now with the Pluto energy front and center. We got that heavy Pluto energy in the environment. We got the Pluto energy, you know, moving forward in Capricorn. Capricorn's associated with the devil. It is the devil's country right now. This is what's going on. And this is significant because with that devil's country piece, that's what comes in with the fourth moving line we have in this hexagram of I Ching. Devil's country means that right now you're traveling through uncharted territory and you're in the devil's country. Hey, Jessa, good to see you. You're in the devil's country because you're very close to achieving your goal. So right when you're about to achieve a major arrival point in something you've been working very, very hard towards, okay? You've been investing a lot of your time and energy in this. Right when you're about to have a big moment of arrival, a homecoming. We know this with what the hexagram changes into with June acceptance, penetration, the gentle penetrating wind. We know that whatever you're wanting for yourself, there's also something profound out there that also wants this for you. This means that spirit is in harmony with you on this. This means that nature itself is aligning to bring you to this arrival point because you're in harmony with your Tao. That's what that hexagram change means. So this is very positive, all right? You're very close. But because you're very close and you're in uncharted territory and you don't know the lay of this land, what happens is these energies that are still stuck to the old way, these energies that are still stuck in the past, or this always worked before, or this is the way it was always done, and they can't handle this new version of you, or they feel out of their element in this new situation and the way it's moving forward and progressing, they're going to act up and they will go on the attack. And it's that energy that came in with Kuhn when we looked at this just a few days ago. The energy will try to oppress, to gain an advantage, gain a stronghold. But this is coming more from a place of more desperation. Like, no, you're too close. You're too close to permanently altering the dynamic here. You're too close to permanently altering this situation. And this can make those who still are very connected to the way things always were or the way things functioned in the past can really feel like it's their last ditch effort to gain some sense of control in this situation. And they don't want to be left behind, or they feel like they might be missing the boat on something. They might be having a realization that they can't continue to move forward the way that they always have. And this may be very frustrating because they might be in a place where they don't quite know yet how to do something new, or they're afraid that if they don't figure it out real fast, they're not going to make it. They're going to miss the boat. And that's not true. That's not true in this climate at all, because the reality is, though there's arrival points coming up, there's also the piece that any lasting change takes time. It takes patience. It takes the groundwork, all right? And so there's also the piece that the closer that we get towards hitting that goal with this fourth moving line, the more we'll be tested. Are you seriously committed to this? Are you sure? Because if you're going to go after something this big, you need to be super invested in it. Like, you can't just give it a little bit of effort here and then just expect it to grow legs on its own. It's not going to work that way. You have to be really, consistent and devoted and persevere in this direction. And there's every indication that if you persevere, you will be successful. There's good fortune in this. But you're going to have to really be in this for the long haul, because what you're trying to achieve right now is no little thing, collective. It's big. And that's applying in your personal life too, whether you're in a healing process or you're going after a major personal goal in your life, or you're trying to reach for that destiny. We're all on this journey of really activating a new cycle in our destiny. That's what it means to have Aries in the North Node. We're doing something brand new. We're starting a brand new cycle. We're heading on to a new timeline. That's what it means to have Aries in the North Node. So all of us are in this process of activating our North Node right now. And that requires that we step into the brand new. It's a lot, it's a lot to step up into. And there can be a lot of fear that comes forward at this time. And the closer you get to moving in that direction, the more your fear is going to act up, the more you're going to be shadow boxing. And you have to start looking at it in a new way, instead of looking at it as life's working against me. No, it's quite the opposite, actually. There's something very profound that's on your side here. Something wants this for you too. What you want wants you too. Now, as there's challenges arising, you're also going to have somebody come through this week that really shows you that they are aligned with you, that they do support where you're going. There's some kind of support coming in, even as there's challenges coming through this week, all right? And there's something that's going to come through that's going to help make this way a little bit smoother for you, all right? It's going to help you find a new way around this. And for a lot of you, this is coming through a support person, all right? It's somebody who has a certain insight into your situation, or a certain in your situation, who can help make things just move forward a little bit easier, so it's not such a struggle to get things moving forward. Some of these people that are coming in as a support are people that are actually going to actively move a tangible block out of your way. Either they're going to give you some kind of resources, or they're going to give you some legitimate opportunity. So this is in play too. It's an interesting juxtaposition, because you're going to be simultaneously wrapping up old things, and you're going to be tying off loose ends, making sure every detail is attended to. So there's nothing that's going to block you from really stepping into this opportunity that this support will provide that's coming in. But you want to make sure you don't get tripped up right at that point when you're right before the finish line. So there's a lot to be aware of here. You could be holding yourself back too, just on the precipice of when this opportunity, this good fortune comes in for you. because you'll be thinking about times in the past when you went after a goal, or you went for a dream, or you took a risk on that person, or, you know, you stepped out of the box in this situation and you wound up with egg on your face. You wound up taking a fall, or you have some sense of a blow to your confidence that maybe, you know, kind of acts up at this time. Maybe you got a little bit of an imposter syndrome, like, why do I even deserve a spot in this circle? Why do I even deserve the opportunity to step into this arena? What if I blow it? What if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? What if they all laugh at me? You know? What if I'm not up to the challenge? Okay. We know that you're not going to get to that, you know, that big moment, that big victory when you're at the top of the hill for some time. Okay. You got to be in it for the long haul. You're just getting a moment of success here, right? It's one new plateau of success, and you'll get to enjoy this for a bit. It will allow you to kind of get nourished. It'll allow you to get your fire back in its proper perspective, so you'll be motivated to move forward, and you can get things cooking again. It will also give you a feeling of a sustenance, so you can go the course, you know, so you can continue to apply your effort and your attention and your focus in the direction you're heading in. So be grateful for this, right? But it's not going to be like the end all be all. It's just one level of your experience, and then you'll be back to being Sisyphus, you know, pushing that boulder up the mountain, okay, to your next plateau, your next level of success. And you're gonna continue up that way. Now, this may mean that as you reach this point of success, you may be afraid of some of the things you have to leave behind. You may feel nostalgic. You may feel a sense of guilt. That may be hard for you, and this could be some of the ways that you're exhausting yourself and you're getting into the shadow boxing. But there's something you really need to think about here. Instead of focusing on all the challenges you're facing, or maybe even focusing on ways that you're like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently, or man, I missed that opportunity back there. I should have done this instead. Instead of focusing on all your blunders or the ways that you've tripped up or made mistakes, it's time to really stop focusing on that and instead focus on your end goal and let that be your single point of focus, okay? Because you have to stop looking at these blunders or times that you blew it or times that you quote unquote failed as being something that's a dissuading point, you know, as if it's something that's like proof or evidence that you should just give up. It's quite the opposite, actually. You need to start reframing these failures or these slip-ups or moments when you blew it and you had to get a new perspective as an actual building block for your success. Think of it more as that was me getting my chops. And yeah, maybe that was embarrassing, or maybe I do wish I could have done it better. But if I wouldn't have blown it, then I would never have this perspective, and then I never would have a chance to innovate and do it in a new way. So the forward motion always needs to be a factor. You know, if you get too hung up looking back where you wish you coulda, woulda, shoulda done something, then you're always going to be in that place of coulda, woulda, shoulda. At some time you have to kind of like stop yourself and go, okay, I could have done this, I should have done this, and I would have done this, and then actually do it. Don't you understand? You're getting this insight. You're looking back at a past situation. You're dealing with a past person. You're dealing with a pattern. It's something you've dealt with a million times before. Now you're going through experiences that are reminding you of that same situation you were in that you struggled with so much. I mean, you're doing some deep healing integrative work here. You're closing up a karmic cycle. And you're remembering all the things that caused you disappointment, all the things that caused you hurt, and all the things that caused you embarrassment, loss, a loss of your autonomy, a loss of your self-respect, a loss of your dignity, you know, a loss of an opportunity. And what you're not recognizing is it's not there to keep you looking back there. It's actually there to inform your next moves. Well, if you could have done this, can you do it now? Are you willing to respond now? If you should have done this, you know, who says? When we're looking at shoulds, who says?
Is that something somebody else is putting on you? Is some outside authority telling you, well, you should have done this and you're feeling guilty about it? Is it true for you? Maybe start asking the right questions. And if you would have done this, in other words, if you're living with regret, well, then what's stopping you from doing it now? That's something brand new, right? Maybe that's the way forward. Maybe it's that simple. And you're like waiting for some big, bells and whistles, revelatory moment. You want all the alarms to go off and there to be the flashing lights and the confetti with the balloons. And it's like, no, it's really that simple. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Well, do you want to take responsibility now? Do you have the ability to respond now as you wish you would have back there? That's what it's about. But understand that in doing that and moving forward to do that, you're not dealing with the same situation. And even if it's the same people, they're not the same. Everything is new. All right. So this is the new perspective that's needed. And part of what's requiring that time for things to just kind of simmer and things to get cooking is you need to really get a lay of this land in moving forward. And it's okay for it to take time. And you don't need to sit here with this piece inside of you that's afraid that if I don't reach out and make this happen right now in exactly this way, that I lose out. Your path is unfolding exactly as it needs to. As long as you have a focus, as long as you have a goal, and as long as it's in alignment with your integrity and your heart and your soul, and you're doing the work and laying down the proper foundation and cutting off, what no longer serves, leaving the past behind, and you're forward thinking, you're moving in the right direction, okay? And this is just a natural part of the hero's journey, when we're on the path toward our ultimate vision, when we're heading toward our North Node, our destiny, or when we're trying to create change collectively, on a global level. We will face tests, but we have to stop looking at them as obstacles and look at them instead as opportunities for innovation. We have to stop looking at them as challenges and instead look at it as training. You're in training, it's allowing you to get certain strength. It's allowing you to get certain resilience. It's allowing you to get a certain insight. This is how you can turn it to optimism without losing a sense of stoicism, which is like, okay, I'm not ignoring that there are problems here. I'm not ignoring that there's a challenge here. I'm not ignoring that something needs to shift here or that there's a problem. And at the same time, I'm not getting so mired in that I'm unable to be productive and have a sense of optimism and motivation in the situation, because I understand where there's great tests, there's also great rewards, especially if this is something that's calling me forward or something I received the calling for. I know that it is significant, okay? And you did receive this calling, and there is something that's in alignment with you. I mean, we got the Hierophant here. Hierophant always comes up in tarot as a sign that, yes, we are on the right track. We may be facing challenges. It may not be the way we think it should be. We may be looking for, a mock-up of what we were used to in the past, but it's not the past anymore. And we know with the Eight of Cups, we were meant to leave that behind. And it says, guide of the waters can make storms and rough seas, causes men to die in 3 days of putrid wounds. And yeah, this is the thing. It's like, if you sit in the wound, if you sit in what is already decayed, it reminds me of that energy of coup, that which has been decayed, that which has been spoiled, that which has been allowed to just sit and fester, If you can sit there as long as you want, but it's only going to continue to become a rut for you. And we've said it before, the only differences between a rut and a grave are its dimensions. So it's like, that is throwing in the towel. That's you, not even living your life. You may as well cash it in. You're not really engaged with your life. You've already given up. And what's the point of that? You can stay in stagnancy. That's a choice too. Everybody has that choice, but we know that things are in a process of moving right now. Life is in flux. And so it's all about how you meet this change. You can meet it by resisting it. And we know that things are only going to become more stagnant for you. Things are only going to become more difficult for you. You can keep doing things the old same way you've always done them, and you're continuing to deal with more obstacles and challenges if you choose to go that way. Your test will become more fierce. It's interesting because a while ago, with the whole quest that we've been bringing in here, on the quest for the Spear of Lu, one thing that came in was this piece of like, some people will be tested by water and some people will be tested by fire. And this is the thing, it's like the great rewards go to those who are willing to face the fire test of truth. You know, they're willing to go through the fire. That's where the reward is, all right? But people will choose the water because they think it's easier. It's not. It's not. You can drown in your emotions. You can drown in sentimentality. You can get lost in the illusion of nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? You can be like two ships passing in the night because the emotional waters are so murky that you're clouded. You start to feel like you don't know the way to get forward. I mean, just in terms of Ayurvedically, that's what happens with kapha. You know, kapha can get to a place where it's just awash in emotions and sentimentality, and then ends up just getting too bogged down, you know, not able to move forward. You get too much water in the earth, you know, and it can be like quicksand. That's how it feels. Like no matter how much you expend yourself, you're not getting anywhere. And that's because you still aren't seeing something with clarity. And it's happening on the level of feeling, all right? Well, with this hexagram, we already know, like, the elements are out of order. You know, the fire is above and the water is below. So this is going to be the natural tendency to be so locked into our place of inertia and emotional stagnancy because we haven't really dealt with what we're feeling. And we're not really listening to our intuition. It's like you already got the download, man, but do you understand the assignment? It's one thing to hear the truth, and it's another thing to really know it so you can act on it. You know what I'm saying? Did you get the message? You got the download, but did you get the message? Like you already know the truth at this point. What's been holding the collective back is action. You know what you coulda, woulda, shoulda done, all right? Or what you really long to do, or where you're being called to go. But it's all your shadow boxing and it's all your past crap that's getting in the way from you just moving into this thing. So it's time to shift the focus. It's time to reframe it. And it's time to remember that piece that idle hands are the devil's playthings. So get busy, you know, get moving, start working your path, start taking the actions in a slow and measured way, even if it seems boring to you, because you're just putting things in place that are going to really secure your position for when you are ready to have this opportunity, which is coming in, right? It is coming in for you. But you can't, if you want to be the master of this course, if you want to be at the helm in your life and really steer this ship, you need to make sure that, you know, you're not sitting in this place of resentment and just like wallowing in old wounds, because you can't be in a place of mastery to do that. It's going to drag your energy down right now. And the waters are going to have to get stormy. You know, if you're going to stay there, if you're going to stay stuck and you're not going to be in a place of mastery, what are you going to do when the storms come? Because we know that things are going to be activated in this climate. I mean, we do have people that are going to be on the attack. They are. It's the energy that's forward right now. There are people who are used to getting their way and they're not getting their way right now. All right. There's people who are bucking tradition, bucking the system, veering left because they're being called in that direction. And it's not a popular choice. And not everybody agrees with them. Okay. So those people who don't agree, who want things to stay the same, who wants you to stay stuck in your old role, who want the dynamic to be what it's always been, they're going to be acting up right now. It's going to make the waters choppy. And if you're like allowing yourself to get kind of embroiled in that, is that really your responsibility? If you healed that, okay, and if you transformed the past and your perception of it, your relation to it, and you're in a place where you're at peace with the past, but you're dealing with past people who maybe haven't dealt with that yet, you know? And so in their interaction with you, they're still superimposing that old reality on your situation. And you're finding this frustrating because you've already processed this, or you can't get people to communicate, or you can't get people on the same page. You have to ask yourself at a certain point, is it your responsibility to tend to this person's growth, this situation's growth, or is it actually your responsibility to continue growing? Because that's what you set in motion. So you can't continue to hold yourself back. The progression needs to continue to be forward, right? Don't become stagnant like this. And it's only in doing that that you'll really be able to navigate these waters and get where you need to go, right? Yeah, it says here with the Hierophant, teaches astrology and the virtues of the stars and the houses and the planets and how to understand them, transforms men with dignities, finds favor with friends and foes. So, you know, it's interesting. I'm noticing these hooks here. And these hooks are reminding me a lot of kartikas. And kartikas are used to do kind of like psychic surgery work on the auric body. We work with them a lot in Panchakarma, particularly when I'm working more with like the Tibetan system of Panchakarma. But they're like hooks that you can use to symbolically kind of go in and get these energetic attachments and pull them out by the root, you know? So there's this piece of whatever you're getting down to the bottom of right now in terms of what's been hanging out in your root cellar that's foundational for your healing at this point, because you're integrating some real like shadowy elements, something that you've repressed. I mean, for a lot of you, you're going through a reclaiming, and that's why you're heading in a certain direction, or you're breaking from the pack. You have a certain goal. You're reclaiming a part of yourself you suppressed for a long time, or maybe a part of yourself you're just discovering because you had some authority figure that really just like trampled this in you, and now you're unearthing it. Okay, something's waking up in you, and it's revolutionary. It's happening within you. It's also happening in people all around you. You're not the only one going through it. And so it's important to remember this when a lot of people are going through a change collectively. It can make things a little turbulent, all right? It's like those growing pains. That's what it is, you know, and it's certainly happening on a worldwide level as well. And before we can really move forward, you know, into the future, we have to remember to be really thorough about what we leave behind that still ties us to the old way of doing things, or still ties us to an old identity, or still ties us to the past. So energetically, on a metaphysical level, this is what we're doing right now. We're really like pulling things up by the root. Okay, we're uprooted, and that's a little destabilizing. That grounding cord that used to attach us to our past, our old story, our old life, or old identity. For some of you, your old location, you know, you're completely uprooted. You're in an entirely new physical environment, right? There's been a lot of people on the move. There's been a lot of people who've been called to more kind of like nomadic life as well, just wanting to sort of be out there, moving out and about, kind of finding their way. It's got, you know, big pilgrimage kind of energy. And I certainly think on a larger scale, that's what we're all dealing with. We're on a pilgrimage. We're trying to find a way home. We're trying to find our way back to something that makes some sort of sense, you know, something that allows us a way to move forward freely and to feel like we have some agency over our lives, instead of just sort of being corralled with the rest of the herd, you know. And so that means a lot of us are having to break from that herd, and we're going to have to, you know, kind of carve a new way. And the way is wild, and it's treacherous at times. And there's challenges to moving forward in these directions in our lives. But we know that it's a life worth living, like, because that risk brings also great reward. This is about you really deciding how much responsibility are you willing to take? How much are you willing to respond to life and the challenges it's throwing in your way? Because how important is your freedom? How important is it for you to live in integrity? How important is it for you to live a life that you actually feel invested in on a soul level? How important is it for you to be in relationship, not just with life, but with yourself and with others, on a level that has true meaning and not where you're just like going through the motions in a formulaic way or trying to, upkeep some tradition. And we have to understand that there's a creative play space curve, like involved in this. Like we got to give ourselves that wiggle room to experiment and to fuck up, and have to figure out our way around things. It also requires a lot of radical honesty. And I feel like that's a part that's really difficult for people to have that kind of radical honesty, because we really get used to keeping certain things to ourselves. And a lot of this has to do with our inability to trust others, or it's not being safe to trust others. There's a lack of this like security around intimacy. But we have to remember intimacy. I like to think of it as that intimacy. Okay. It's like look into yourself first. When you're intimate with yourself and you really know what your core truth is, your core values, what has meaning to you and what you're willing to invest in, and you live from that place, then there's no problem in letting it be seen. There's no problem in having emotional transparency. There's no issue with being bold. There is no fear either. A lot of people just really miss the boat and don't recognize the way that they really shoot themselves in the foot, disempower themselves, and why they feel like such a need to protect themselves all the time is because of this inability to be emotionally transparent. It's because of this inability to just, let it all hang out, just to be real. And I'm not saying that there's not certain things that should just be kept between you and another person because they're special and they're meaningful between the two of you. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about when we're stating our intentions or what our desires are, our goals are, our plans, when they involve other people that will be affected by them. This is the way that most people create gridlock in their lives, is they try to move forward covertly. They try to do something on the down low. They try to get away with something because they don't want to disrupt that tradition, or they don't want to disappoint someone, or they feel guilty for wanting something other than what another wants, or whatever it may be. But the irony is that the true safety, the true security, the true stability comes from just being real about it, open about it, honest with it from the get. And this prevents a whole lot of these obstacles and this stagnation, because then it's clear. And within the confines of that, okay, the structure of that, where people know where people stand, where people know what they're wanting to create, that's when you get to really have that freedom to decide, well, do I want to invest in that way? Or is there a different way for me? And this is where truly respecting each other's freedom to kind of like carve our own way through the world comes forward. This is where it's about respecting that we each have our own path. And this is what gets in the way. Not respecting that freedom. Not having that transparency, okay? So a lot of the pushback we get in our lives comes from not living in that transparent way. A lot of what rules us and translates as worry, anxiety, fear is largely related to this, in feeling like we need to hide our intentions, or feel like we got to like be careful because if we are clear about what we desire or what we feel or where we want to see this thing go, then we could get hurt. But are you really free from hurt if you're keeping it inside of you and it's causing a bunch of challenges and disruption and trauma and upheaval and conflict and butting of heads in your life? You're not really saving yourself from anything. And you're also keeping yourself in contracted space, because then you have to always be focused on keeping this part hidden of you, hidden, and keep this part of you tamped down and, putting on a fake front, playing a role, and it doesn't work, and there's this piece of this is all being stripped away right now. We're not just being asked to change. We're not just being asked to innovate, but we're also being asked to move forward in a more transparent way where things are very clear. When you have factions, because everybody is on a different page, everybody has their own agenda, that's when you get division, and that's when you get a weakening of the whole, because everybody's moving at cross purposes. But where there's transparency, then you can come together with people in such a way where it's like, okay, this is how we can make this work then. If that's where you're at, this is where I'm at, then you got something constructive going on, okay? So this is a piece here, okay? This is a piece that's coming forward. There's a need to sort of like treat everybody's truth with dignity. Everybody deserves the dignity to make their own choices about what's best for them in life. But where we run into problems is where people don't communicate about those choices, or people are not honest about what they're really feeling, or they're not truthful about their intentions, or they do things in such a manipulative way. Now, if you're dealing with somebody who's consistently manipulative, or they're consistently a liar, or they're consistently operating in this way, you need to ask yourself why you're still taking responsibility in this situation. Why do you still feel like you have the ability to respond in this situation? Because this person's not showing any desire to do the same. They're not choosing to respond. They're choosing to keep the situation locked in a state of reactiveness, right? You might need to rethink what your responsibility is in this situation. And I think you're going to get a chance to figure that out with this cycle, with the challenges coming your way. Do look for the stuff to start to come in this week, okay? We got Queen of Cups, all right? Could be coming in very strongly for water sign energy. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Teaches all sciences, performs wonderful poetry, follows all requests with excellence, okay? Interesting. I mean, this piece has been coming through for a while. I think where people are feeling challenged emotionally, where they're working through something, there's some piece here about unlocking solutions and more innovative ways to move forward, or maybe even getting in touch with what you're feeling, where things feel a little murky, through exploring that creatively. Sometimes we can get too locked in our heads, especially when it comes to trying to heal something or work through group dynamics or challenging situations, where we can become too polarized and stuck. And sometimes it can be very helpful to invite in more of a creative energy into our lives in general, to start working with our creative energy. And that allows us to kind of gain new perspectives, or maybe look at emotional material in a way we weren't able to encounter before. Maybe even get to express some stuff that's been held in too long, that it's difficult for us to hold space for, just to give it a little breathing room, a little space in this container of creativity, okay? Fumbling with the words, trying to find the words, okay? Maybe it's about finding the words creatively. And this can be an outlet, to provide a deeper level of understanding. And it doesn't even mean it's something you have to share with another. Although there is this piece that some of you may be on the receiving end of this. There may be somebody that's sharing something with you that they created, something that they poured their heart into because they couldn't find any other way to communicate something to you that they really want you to be able to receive, okay? If you do have somebody that shares a creative gift with you as a way to express something that they've been feeling that they're having difficulty articulating, please hold a loving space around that. For some of you, this may also have to do with your pursuing something creatively. You're heading in a creative direction, And in some way, shape, or form, maybe this is a part of you that you haven't let people see before. This is a part of you that you're just starting to explore, and maybe you have doubts about your ability, your talent, your creative expression, your creative voice. This is about getting those shoulds out of the way. This is about, not relying on external authority figures or having to do something in a formulaic way. Maybe you have a very different way of expressing your creativity. Maybe your voice sounds very different from other singers, or maybe your writing style is something that people aren't very accustomed to, or you have an interesting way of threading together your thoughts, or you're doing something that's very innovative or different. You're not sure if people will be, receptive to it, or you have something you're putting out there that you feel inspired to create, but it's something that's very counterculture, or it really bucks tradition, or is very different from the way things are normally done. And so you might be dealing with a little insecurity around this, maybe for times that you tried to share yourself in this way before and people put you down, or you were sidelined in some way, or you felt like nobody cared what you had to offer. This is sort of about just trusting the creative impulse and moving forward with that. I think if you do, it's going to open something up for you, and you actually will find that it may be a proud moment for you. I mean, it's got peacock energy around it. You may have more eyes on you than you realize. Some of you have really been nurturing something. You've been pouring yourself into a direction. This could be something that's inspired you creatively. It could be something that is spiritually motivating for you. It's something that you're really invested in on a heart and soul level. It means everything to you. Maybe you think nobody is recognizing what you're putting out there, or it's not receiving the kind of attention you wish it would. You may not realize how many eyes you have on you right now. Again, I feel like there's somebody out there right now that wants to see the same success for you that you're longing for. There's somebody out there right now who believes in your vision. They believe in your dream. And you're about to be lined up with this person, place, or thing that's going to provide you the opportunity to really get to that arrival point you're looking to get to with this thing. But you have to trust your inner voice. And it may mean that you have to buck tradition, or you have to leave behind something that you've been very devoted to, or you've been just used to doing things a certain way, and it's a little insecure to do something you've never done before, right? But with the Hierophant here, you're meant to do this. You're meant to follow this direction. You're meant to respond to this despite, what may get in your way. And that's one way you can really know if you are following the path with heart, because if your heart is really in alignment with it, and if it's part of your purpose, it won't matter the challenges that get in the way. You'll have so much drive, and the calling will be so deep that you're going to keep going. That's what it means. That's why the challenges come on the path. Are you willing to see this thing through? Do you have the fortitude? Basis of the matter is 9 of Pentacles. Okay. Again, there's this piece coming in about, music. It says causes any manner of music to play, causes trees to bend at will, brings excellent familiars. So here you go. There's somebody who sees your creative vision. There's somebody who recognizes your creative voice. There's somebody who, they may seem like a unicorn to you when they show up on the scene. You're like, wow, where'd you come from? I thought I was the only person who saw things this way, or I thought I was the only one who got it, This is somebody who is going to feel like a familiar to you, okay? This is somebody who does believe in your vision. They do believe in your dream. Maybe this person's seen you facing a lot of challenges. They want to help toot the horn for you. They want to lead the charge. They see that you've lost a little steam, or that maybe you've been a little disappointed. They see that the way's been rough going for you. This person wants to give you some help, okay? You don't have to go it alone. Do be aware that you do have somebody coming in, an opportunity, a situation, and a helpful person, that's here to be a supporter for you, all right? And you got to let this support in. And there's something about, there's a synergy between the two of you. I like this. Causes any manner of music to be played. For some of you, this could be music. You know, some of you may be musicians. Some of you may be connecting with somebody who's a musician. Some of you are very strong songwriters. You know, you're great lyricists, but maybe you're not a vocalist, or maybe you don't play an instrument, you know, but you're getting connected with somebody who's a musician. And together, even though you each play a different part, your energies come together synergistically and something really amazing happens, okay? This is a piece that's been coming in a bit recently too, just about music, you know, working with this element of music. Sometimes music can help us tap into feelings, emotions, you know, things that we normally couldn't have access to, and that it can provide an avenue for release, whether you're writing a song, singing a song, dancing to music, okay? So it also reminds me of that one note of ecstasis that runs through all things. You know, you're part of ecstasis. You're part of that one note, and your life's expression, then the way you choose to use your life and the visions you pour your time and energy into is part of what gives this life its beauty and its diversity. You know, it's the symphony of life, you know, how you contribute your own unique piece in that. So this is about not giving up on your dreams, just if you're facing some challenges right now or things are difficult, and understanding that the reason why you're running against so many challenges right now and you're being tested at this time is because what you're stepping up to really does require you to have certain, you know, a certain tenacity. It's not a little goal. It's a big goal, and you're very close, and there's some kind of support coming in for you, okay? So don't throw in the towel yet. Don't give up just yet, because every indication that's coming through here is that your perseverance is going to bring good fortune. And that's evident in the 5th changing line as well, which says, perseverance brings good fortune, no remorse. And it says, where you've been enlightened, where you have your inspiration, like it's on point, okay? You heard correctly. So stay the course. That's part of understanding the assignment. That's part of really getting the message. It's like, okay, you can have the inspiration, but an inspiration is meant to be shared. You know what I mean? It's meant to be put out there. It's not meant to just rattle around inside of you. You're supposed to work with that creative energy to, you know, bring it forward into the world. So this is that piece, you know, okay, you got the inspiration, but did you really get the message? You heard the call, you picked it up, but did you really receive that communication and all that entails? Because now you're meant to keep moving forward with that, all right? And if you continue to move forward in this direction that's inspired you, you're going to be successful. It's guaranteed, and help is on the way. And just because you're dealing with challenges and conflict doesn't mean you're moving in the wrong direction. It actually is a sign that you're getting really close to achieving some manner of success. I know. It's frustrating that life works like that, but it's true. And the position you're stepping into is one of responsibility, because you chose to answer the call. All right. So part of that responsibility is that you rise to those challenges and you fulfill this thing that you set in motion. All right. So don't give up. Don't just give up yet. All right. Don't throw in the towel, because there's learning happening here. There's growth happening here. We know that. You know, when we bump up against things and we're experiencing challenges, as long as we keep going, there's growth. We only lose the plot when we allow it to sideline us. That's when you're choosing to just give up. That's when you're choosing stagnancy. All right. And then you are truly, you know, losing the plot on the real. But if you keep applying yourself, and you keep looking for ways that you can move around this difficulty, maybe in some cases it just means, you know, putting your focus in a little bit of a different direction. You know, maybe you need to shift focus to like one detail of what you're building here, instead of constantly being worried about something that's being a source of frustration for you in the situation. Okay, it's just that little shift in perspective. can change everything. If something's really intractable right now, then, just shift your focus a little bit. Okay? What can you focus on instead that still moves you toward this goal, this desire you have, that feels productive, where there is an avenue for growth and forward momentum, right? And I think that's also something that's going to be illuminated for you. It's like, okay, it may be intractable in this direction right now, but this is opening up. And you can put your focus here. And this is really productive. And as you start to head in this direction, maybe it is time for, people who are being intractable or situations that are stuck to go through their own metamorphosis, because we know everything right now is in a state of entropy. Okay, so it's all coming undone. All right, so if you just start to kind of apply yourself a little bit differently, this situation is going to be in a process of changing in the meantime, and when it comes back around the bend, which it likely will, okay, it likely will, you're going to be able to have a fresh experience with it, because it's no longer going to be the same. But where it's at right now, there's not progression there. So we know that when we're constantly at this place where the walls keep coming up that are blocking our way forward, you got a few choices. You can allow the wall to stop you. You can take the attack mode and, use the battering ram, which we were already informed is going to lead to misfortune. It's not good. Don't force something. Okay. Don't get aggressive. Don't try to, make people bend to your will. Don't try to control. Don't get argumentative. Don't engage in a combative level. That won't get you anywhere. It's going to make things worse. It's going to slow you down further. It could just completely destroy all the progress that you put in place. Okay, so that's not the way to go. We know the way to go is to just be gently penetrating. And that means to focus your attention on where you can take responsibility and where there is growth and movement. And in doing so, you allow these other situations to go through their own changes in their own time, and all things shake out in the wash. We all still get ahead. Everything changes. No point in continuing to deal with a way that's blocked. All right? If you can't pass, then don't pass there. Find another route. Go off the beaten path. Take the road less traveled. It'll get you some new scenery. It'll give you some interest. It'll give you some motivation. It'll bring new people onto your path. It'll bring new opportunities on your path, some fresh energy. That's very motivating. And there's some kind of success that comes through this, okay? This is really, really good energy, all right? Here's the thing you have to recognize right now is that, this devil's country that we're wading through, where we're dealing with tests and challenges, and we're really having our mettle tested. Do we really have what it takes to step out of our comfort zone and rise up into this goal that we want to achieve? Are we willing to, stay the course even when it's not easy? Are we willing to stay committed to it even when we have to find a new way around it? And are we willing to look at it in a different way that, hey, I'm gaining skills here. I'm gaining tenacity here. I'm coming up with creative ideas here. I'm learning workarounds here. And I'm really glad that messed up back there, because this way is way better. And that's what happens a lot. I don't know if you've experienced that before, but I've experienced that, where maybe I thought this was the way that I need to do this. This is perfect. And I was really committed to that. I could only see it that way. And then something just didn't work. And because it didn't work, then I had to totally veer in a different direction and realize I'm glad that didn't work, because this is so much better. So it's one of those moments, right? Yeah, you're dealing with Murphy's Law right now, but it's there for a reason, and that's what you're missing. There's a skew in perception where it's like the collective sitting there going, life's against me. Nothing wants me to move forward, or these people are doing this to me. Everybody's pointing their fingers at each other. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's cool. Call things out, where people have been, not doing right by you. If you need to speak your truth, speak your truth, but then move on from it, man. It's not about continuing with the subversive maneuvering or the lies or manipulations or factions or any of that crap that put these problems in position in the first place. Okay, it means you've spoken your piece. Now move on. Move the energy, keep it moving. And people who want to stay stuck there in intractable positions and play those games, Again, it's your responsibility to ask yourself, do I have the ability to respond in this situation? I mean, I know if it was me, I'd be like, hell no. That's reactiveness. I don't want to respond to that situation. I already responded to that situation. Now I got to see what truly is worthy of me taking my responsibility, my ability to respond. Okay? And for me, that's all about my calling. And you got to ask what that is for yourself, you know? I really encourage you to follow in the direction that really does feel right to you, regardless of what anybody thinks about it. And just anticipate you're going to be dealing with this. We already know it. It's coming up this week, okay? Some of you have become so stuck that you're about to deal with a shock, okay? You're about to deal with something from somebody that you could have never anticipated. You know, you thought for sure that they were going to fall in line with you, and they don't, you know? They take some bold move you never anticipated. They say something to you you never expected. If you're somebody who's been releasing your attachments and you're able to kind of just allow things to be as they are, allow people to be as they are, live and let live, you're open-minded, you've been doing a lot of work around this. I have to say, I really encourage people in this climate, if there's one area where you could really put your focus in terms of personal growth work that would benefit you the most, it's this. Cultivating presence and losing your sense of attachment. On the real. Dropping your expectations, you know, the way you think things need to be, your pictures of what would be ideal, because you got to create this room for the chaos to do its thing, because chaos is in charge right now. It's coming to a point of dissolution, like what was is not what is going to be. It's unraveling. And yes, the reason why there's these problems and these blockages is because people can't handle that it's unraveling. They can't handle it in your personal life. They can't handle it in your family. They can't handle it at your work, you know, with your boss, the people you're dealing. They can't handle it. People out in the world can't handle it. They can't deal with it. They feel overwhelmed by it. That's why addictions are at an all-time high. That's why people are so addicted to just social media, anything to live in virtual reality, you know, anything to put up this fantasy, anything that helps us disconnect, get out of this experience, because no, I don't want to deal with the fact that nothing is staying the same. It's not, it's not, it's not, it's not. And this is the reality, man. There's no way around that. Nothing is staying the same. Your relationships are not staying the same. The way you've done things are not staying the same. But guess what? Hey, you're not the only one going through it. Like everybody is. This is the energy that's out in the world. So the more that you can get to this place of radical acceptance where you go, all right, I recognize I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm out of my element. No, I'm not quite sure where I'm ultimately going. I only know right now that this is where I feel like I need to go. And for some of you, it's about taking that risk. You got to go with just what feels right on a gut level, even if you don't have anything to support it. You just start moving in that direction and see what happens. Let the road rise up to meet you, but you're taking an action now. It's clear. The energy is moving. Something's coming on your path to move you. If you're not doing it willingly and you're not already in this place where you're trying to really focus on bringing your energy present, you know, and how do you do that? You know, a lot of people talk about things like meditation when they speak of presence, and it's wonderful. It's a valuable tool for those that are receptive to it. But it must be understood that some people hear the word meditation and they're instantly like, they shut down around that. They're like, no, I can't handle, like, you know, sitting cross-legged, looking up at my third eye and oming it out. Like the thought of that is just torture to them. So we have to understand that meditation doesn't have to be a point of external stillness. You can be a meditation in motion. Your whole life can be a meditation. And meditation can look as simple as activating the witness, so that when you notice that you start thinking about the past, you just kind of like snap yourself back into this moment, go, hey, 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 we're here right now. That person isn't here right now. That situation is not what's happening right now. What's happening right now And it's really helpful if you do that, actually, because sometimes there's something that's happening right now that you're disconnecting from because it's a big freaking key for you and it's showing up like a flashing light in your environment. It's something you need to see, but you don't want to see it. So that's why your brain goes back to the past. People underestimate the way the past can be the devil itself. The way the past can tempt us, deceive us, delude us, and really obscure our vision in the present moment, really keep us from seeing what we need to see right freaking now. And certainly if you're dealing with a past situation or healing with somebody from your past, or you got past people coming around or some past issue resurfacing, even more reason for you to keep coming back here, coming back here, coming back here, coming back here, because there's probably something going on right now that's really freaking uncomfortable. And you're not in your comfort zone. But growth doesn't happen when we're comfortable. And everything happens in that place of risk. It's a vulnerable place to be. It is. Anything can happen. But the reality is, we're always in this place of vulnerability. This is the nature of reality. And people forget this, that it's very comfortable to look back to tradition or look back to, this is the way this person has always been, or this is the way this situation has always been, because that gives us a false sense of control. You're not there anymore. You're not there anymore. And with what's happening right now and the way the world as a whole is shifting, like, it's just going to be one awakening after another. That's what we're going through. That's what the age of the Kali Yuga is about. It's tearing away all the illusions. It's the harsh truths that we need to see. And it creates this like shocking moment that wakes us up out of our inertia. But it can only be productive if we utilize that awakening in the proper way. Some people will just succumb to the fear. They'll go to that place where they just become frozen, unable to act. You know, they can't deal with the fact that it's not this way. And this is when people can act out, right? That's why you see the upheaval. That's why you see the aggression. That's why you see people acting out. That's why you see the reactiveness, the polarization, the division. It's because people feel freaking activated. They feel scared. They're dealing with the unknown and they don't know what is going to happen. And so they try to clamor for control any way they can make sense of things. So if you really want to move with this energy that's coming in right now in a way that can help carry you, so you can actually ride that wave of change instead of it, you know, wiping you out, the best thing you can do is just be open and work on being present and calling your energy back here. Every time you start worrying too much about something off in the future, or anytime you're looking back, longing for the past, you got to bring yourself right here. And the reason why most people avoid being right here is that it really brings us into our bodies. It brings us into our physical experience, and then we really feel what we're feeling. There's no way to avoid it. And often that can be uncomfortable. It's not always comfortable to wake up, but we are at a point where we're needing some kind of emotional transformation. There's something that needs to shift on the very, like, on the animal body level in relation to our feelings, our instincts, our intuitions, our impulses. It's what's happening at the more subtle level within us that we need to connect with, not by disconnecting from ourselves and being like, oh, I'm so woke, man. I'm like elevating to the 5D. No, you're here. You're here in three-dimensional reality. You are here now. This is where you are right now. You can say that your mind, your spirits, no, you're here with all of us. We're all here in this third dimensional reality, and you gotta be here. I know it's not comfortable. None of us are having a comfortable experience on planet Earth right now. None of us are, and certainly not in the past few years. Nobody gets a pass. We're all in this together. You can check out. That's a choice, man. All right. But you don't get to tell yourself that you've transcended this experience, because if you're here and you're in a physical body, you're still here, man. You're still here, man. So what are you going to do about it? All right. This piece is super important. With the fifth line changing, we know that there's going to be conflict, because with the fifth line changing in this hexagram before completion, it changes into hexagram 6. Soon, conflict. There is going to be conflict. But we also have to understand the ways that conflict also serves us. Conflict serves growth. People don't like that, but it's true. Conflict offers an opportunity for understanding. Conflict offers an opportunity for healing. Conflict offers a way to figure out how to move around an obstacle, which requires innovation, creativity, thinking outside the box. Okay? We live in a dualistic reality, and that is part of the keys to the kingdom, is understanding this, so that when we deal with a conflict, we understand that the converse is also true. And that's what true chaos energy is. It's this creative force that says, okay, yes, now we're in this place of entropy and everything is dissolving. Everything's in this state of dissolution, and that's making things messy, and there's conflict and disorder, and that's what's ruling the day. But wow, anything can happen here, because now the old framework is no longer in play. That means there's all these other opportunities here too. Where there's conflict, there's an opportunity for resolution. There's an opportunity for healing now. Because at least we know if there's conflict, it's not hidden, it's open. You know what I'm saying? It's not subversive anymore. We're aware this is what's going on. It's only when we're aware of what's going on, when we're present with what's happening, that we have an opportunity to switch up the game, to actually arrive at a solution. Now we're cooking. It's all about how you look at it. But you got to be looking down here on terra firma, both feet on the ground, and really be grounded in the reality of that, all right? But we should feel very optimistic right now, because we are at a point where, yes, there's this conflict. And yes, it's kind of Murphy's Law right now. You might feel like anything that could go wrong is going wrong, all right? But at the same time, it's sort of like dance on those ashes of the old way, man, because there's something that's going to grow from that. There's a regeneration that comes with this. The action right now that's being required of us is to prepare. Prepare for the opportunity that's coming your way. There's an opportunity coming your way. Prepare for the success that you're about to have. That's what you're meant to do. Do you see how that changes things? In a way, what you're doing is you're preparing for the inevitable, because you've been investing time, energy, love, care, attention in your growth. You're wanting to see something grow in your life, There's something you've been diligently working on, diligently applying yourself to, even if it's just your own healing or your own recovery, right? Well, right now it's time for you to prepare for your arrival. You're about to arrive. Are you ready to arrive there? Have you asked yourself this? A lot of people sit and they think more in the pessimistic mind frame. Oh, how can I prepare for failure? Why are you preparing for failure? You ever ask yourself that? And so then when they encounter an obstacle, since they prepared for failure, they automatically, their first impulse is to throw in the towel. Oh, this must not be meant for me. I shouldn't go in this direction because I'm facing a challenge. Therefore, it must not be meant for me. And they're not understanding, no, actually, you're in training. You're in training to, learn the skills, embody the qualities you need to have to step up to this next level in your life. If you weren't put through these tests, you wouldn't have what it takes. You need to get your chops up, man. Look at it differently. You wouldn't be tested so hard if you weren't being asked to really step into this role of responsibility, right? This is what it's like on the way to our North Node. This is what it's like on our way to destiny. we're asked to call something deeper forward in ourselves, you know? It doesn't come easy. If it was easy, everybody would reach these levels of success, arrival, homecoming in their lives, but they don't. More people prefer to play the blame game. They like to blame, their economic position in life. They like to blame the color of their skin. They like to blame where they live. They like to blame the powers that be, their government. They like to blame, their parents. They like to blame their old lover. They like to blame their trauma. Everybody has an excuse. Everybody has an excuse. The people who get free are the people that don't have excuses. They anticipate there's going to be conflict. They anticipate there's going to be a challenge. They anticipate it's not going to be easy. They anticipate that they're going to have to really, they're going to have to prove themselves to this effort. They're going to have to really put themselves on the line. They're going to have to invest in it. They're going to have to work hard. They know it's not going to come easy. They know not everybody's going to get it. They know not everybody's going to support them. And they do it anyway. They do it anyway. Because it means that much to them. And let's say you're one of these people that right now you have yet to connect with that thing. You're about to. You're about to through Murphy's Law. You're about to. Because there is some truth you've already hit on, but you're not acknowledging it. You're not seeing it because in order for you to see it, it means you have to take responsibility. You know that there's a choice that you need to make. You don't want to make it because it's not comfortable. So you're trying to keep up the status quo, but we already know where things were stuck and stagnant 3 days ago when I cast the I Ching. They're not anymore. Now we're in a state of entropy. Everything's coming undone. So now there's going to be a lot of reversals. There's going to be problems arising right now. And it's because you didn't want to just willingly proceed in the direction you were heading in. You let the backlash get to you. You let the challenges, sideline you. You gave up. You threw in the towel. Or you tried to go about things the wrong way. You tried to force something. You went on the attack. You pushed it. You pulled out your battering ram. And you've been intractable. And you've been just trying to force things to be a certain way. And you haven't been accepting the reality of your situation. Because it was supposed to look like this. Or because it was like this in the past. And so now you're going to deal with some kind of shock coming your way. There's going to be some kind of reversal for you. For those of you who haven't fallen in this, for those of you who've been staying the course, for those of you who've been very committed, you're almost there. I know you're tired. I know you're tired, boss. Don't give up. You're so close to having a moment of success. And there is help on the way. Okay? There's help on the way. There's somebody who also is equally invested in seeing you hit the mark with this thing. And you got this help coming in. So be on the lookout for it, all right? There's an opportunity coming your way. You're so close. Don't give up now, okay? But do understand that when this good fortune comes your way, it's not the end all be all. This is one level up, all right? And you're going to have more mountain to climb, all right? So this is about enjoying it, yes, but don't get stuck here. Stay diligent and keep laying down those bricks one at a time, right? Because you got a ways to go before you reach that true, north node destination. You're just in the starting stages now, but life is going to give you a little bit of a reprieve, right? You're all going to get a reprieve. You're all going to get a new opportunity. Some of you have been continuing to apply yourself. You've been practicing non-attachment. You've been staying present and focused. You're going to get it, you're going to get in a very, serendipitous way. Okay? You're going to make that connection at the right time. There's going to be this opportunity that comes your way and you're like, oh my gosh, this just fixes everything. This makes everything so much easier. And it gets you to the next stage of your development, okay? Positive development. And some of you who've been resistant are about to have a tower. Try not to see the tower, if that's your journey, in a negative way. Try to see it as a tool for transformation. and don't play the blame game. Instead, take responsibility and say, okay, this tower is here. So how can I respond to the situation? And what is within my ability to respond to this situation? Because that's your key to progress. And if you do that, even this tower ain't going to hold you down, okay? Some new opportunity will rise up out of it. But this is what's ahead, man. This energy is moving. It's moving and it's significant. And it's moving on a global level too, okay? So look for this to start coming in with this Scorpio season as well. All right? There's going to be like some shocks, man. we're heading into the shockwave portion of the journey. There's some towers that are going to be coming in collectively on a global level. And it's what we do with these shock waves that are going to make the difference in how we move forward. We're all going to be given a choice. I'm really hoping that people bust out of the old framework and choose to respond instead of react. I'm really hoping that people don't cling to tradition out of fear, and that they choose instead to unify. Yeah, I'm really hoping that people don't fall into the device or reprogramming. But it's up on us right now, and it's coming fast. Okay. But there's also a big moment of success and a turning point. So I'm more prone to think that enough people at this point are taking the blinders off and they're looking at their part and what they can do, and they're recognizing that decisions are going to be required. And I'm now very more to like a grand collective focus here when I'm speaking on this. And I feel like there's enough people out there who understand that, though this may feel unsettling and though they may be uncertain about all the particulars of these steps that need to be taken, that they still know they are going to need to take some action, do things differently, make some tough choices, and figure out how to move forward differently. And I do believe that there's a big unifying movement underway. I really feel it very strongly. I actually feel, despite what likes to get put out there on media, and the algorithm to kind of program our perceptions, I really believe that people are more of the mindset that they're ready for change. I believe that people are more of the mindset that they're starting to realize that if we can't figure out a way to get on the same page, we're in big trouble. So I feel like the movement is more toward unity and more toward solution. There's a lot of people out there that are still kind of parroting the doom and gloom rhetoric, and it's like, I don't feel it's helpful at a certain point. It's like I opened up with this whole discussion. It's one thing to be a whistleblower, and it's one thing to be a truth teller, but you're not really being beneficial if you're not giving any recourses for how can we start to work with this energy, or how can we transform it, or what is a potential way that we can move forward that could provide a solution, even if it's at the most basic level. So I'm not really for people who are just purveyors of doom and gloom that don't provide any kind of positive insight or any kind of way to explore, a new way of doing things. To me, that's just counterproductive. Then you're just sort of being an oppressive force. You're not doing anything to help support any kind of positive change in the world. So if you're somebody who tends to focus more on the negative side of life, on the negative side of situations, and maybe that is influenced by everything you're taking in on a worldwide level, now might be the time to even look at creating a little shift in that way, taking more responsibility in that way. How can you start focusing maybe on some things that are working in the world, or where you are seeing positive change, and maybe build the momentum of that focus a little bit more? It makes a difference. It really does. This isn't whitewashing things. Yes, tell the truth. Yes, look at the issues we face, but can you start to be a little bit more solution oriented? Can you start kind of highlighting when you see somebody doing something that is progressive or making a difference? Like, hey, what about this? I think there's a big shift that needs to happen collectively like this, and especially in online format or anybody who's a mouthpiece of any sort, whether you got a YouTube channel or you're a writer or, you have a radio show or anything along these lines. Like, if you're not bringing in some piece that is solution oriented, like what's the point? What are you really contributing? I mean, even in your conversations that you're having with your friends or in your community, think about it. It's important. It's an important piece. And I think that's really what accountability and responsibility is about. It's like, okay, we see you can be reactive. We see that everybody can kind of go around and go, oh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. It's all going to hell in a handbasket. Everything's horrible right now. So many problems in the world. What are we going to do? Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. That's just being reactive. That's just being a puppet. What's pulling your strings? What's innovative, what's veering from the pack is to go, okay, yeah, I get that. I don't got my head in the sand. I see this as an issue, but let's brainstorm. How can I put something different out there? How can I use my voice differently? How can I have different kinds of conversations? How can I put my focus on different sorts of things that are actually more solution oriented? It makes a difference. This is where the collective really needs to do the work, man. They really need to do this work instead of just being in this place of like apathy where it's kind of like, oh, everything's screwed, so forget about it. That's a cop out. I don't know. I find it hard to really respect that. People who just complain, complain. That's all they do is complain. They don't offer anything constructive. It's a waste of time. And it's funny because a lot of times people, they take great pride in that they're so harsh, that they're, oh, I'll tell you straight up. Okay, that's good. It's good to be a straight talker. I admire that, obviously. I respect people who keep it real and that don't have a problem talking about the tougher stuff in life. But if that's where it ends with you, like stop thinking you're really making some contribution, because you're not. I mean, clearly it's messed up. Like, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to recognize that. It's kind of obvious at this point. And anybody who's just like, oh, everything's beautiful and it's perfect and wonderful. I mean, they realized it was messed up so long ago that they just, they couldn't handle it. They had to hit the eject button. They had to disconnect to keep themselves together. And I mean, we never know why people react to things in certain ways. We have our own road to walk, but where you can be present and help out those who maybe are more sensitive souls. And you ever think about that? If you're dealing with people that they're so deluded, they're not willing to look at what isn't working, maybe have a little bit of compassion there and understand that this might be a lot. If it's somebody you're dealing with in your personal life, like, this may be a lot for this person to integrate. Can you have a heart? Can you have some compassion? And maybe in communicating certain truths to them, can you bring in a little bit of a love, a little bit of support, a little bit of help in allowing them to maybe just start to dip their toe into really acknowledging the way things are or why situations are stuck. This piece too, it's important to bring in these balancing elements. Cut of the deck energy. Ace of Pentacles gives all worldly power and treasures, makes one rich quickly. Again, I got big full energy. So we do know that this is kind of like, it's a little bit of a tricky environment. Yes, there's challenges, but there's also really big rewards. And there is one coming in for you where you've been applying yourself and you've been working really hard. Get ready for this level up, okay? Don't give up. I know you're tired, okay? I know you're tired. Just keep following it through. Ace of Pentacles, again, it's like I've been saying, I know it's a little bit longer than people really want to hear, but spring is when things are really going to come together for everybody, okay? This is when things start to open up. we're still in the process, like kind of integrating some stuff right now and having to really get a solid foundation in place. And I know that's not what people want to hear, but you do got some support coming in immediately, okay? On the imminent horizon, there are some supportive resources coming in for you that's going to make things a little bit easier. It's not going to be so hard. And I do feel like there's going to be a person, a key person plays a role in this that'll help make things easier. Could be a King of Swords energy. This is somebody who knows a very clear way forward. They have a very clear view ahead. They also have certain resources and maybe certain insights that you don't have. King of Swords is very discerning. This is all air sign energy, of course, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. This is also that South Node energy. It's also moving into the masculine energy of Libra and the South Node, which is to take action with decisiveness, to make sure you're cutting off what doesn't serve, that you're exercising your truth by taking action on it, okay? This is also about really just looking at things very practically, understanding what is not working and needs to be cut off, and you're learning to kind of focus the energy in a different way. It says reveals knowledge of forthcoming battles and procures the favor of lords and kings. So remember, there's a helpful person coming in. This person may be warning you about some challenges up ahead or a conflict that you might be unaware of, or something that can save you said trouble, you know, if you listen to their directive. This person's here to give you a helping hand. They recognize you need some support. Could be strong Aquarius energy, any sign placement in the chart. Could also be somebody connected to your past, okay? Maybe they have a different perspective to share or certain insight to offer you that can help make things go forward more smoothly. But with this horse energy here, we know there will be movement and you are going to advance forward, which is a very positive sign. So things are changing. Might be a little bit of a bumpy ride for some of you. Definitely expect some opposition, but there will be forward momentum, and keep at it, okay? Because help's on the way very soon here. You might even see signs of this coming in this week. I think with the full moon, I think something comes to a head with this full moon, and there's some light that will shine forward, a way to explore. It does involve letting something go. It could be a belief. It could be an old way of doing things. It may be a certain opportunity that you wanted to explore, but recognize you're being called in a different direction. It will play out in different ways for all of you, but stick through it while you're in devil's country, okay? Because these are just tests. Tests to see if you really got what it takes to step into the success that's just around the corner for you. Don't give up. You're too close, right? Don't give up. Don't give up. And I just want to create the opportunity to ask if anybody has any questions in relation to the course material for those of you who are going through the community Panchakarma and you're working with the Cobra's Medicine Bag courses. I want to make sure that I'm available to answer your questions, provide any clarity. And it's okay if you catch this on the replay, you can always leave any questions or experiences you've had with the courses or with Panchakarma in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm really good with responding. I take it as my responsibility to respond to all of you, and I love it when it can happen in real time, but I also recognize it's in the middle of the work week and it's in the middle of the day, and you all are probably tied up, and I'm happy to interact with you, support, you know, offer encouragement, receive your stories, your experiences, all of that when you're able to make it to this video. So thank you to those of you who did show up at the live, and thank you to those of you who will make the replay, and to all the subscribers, all the supporters of the channel and helping me grow this channel so I can get these messages out to more people. I really appreciate all of you. And it looks like we're good. All right. So thank you for coming, and have a beautiful day, and keep going. Don't give up. All right. You're too close. There's some reprieve very soon here. All right. It'll be like a little, okay. I can kind of like drink this moment in a little bit. And I feel like it's going to be a recentering moment where you're going to help It's going to help you like get your bearings and let you know you're heading in the direction you need to be heading in. And it's going to give you an opportunity to get certain key things in place for your next stage of growth on the way. This is a long-term journey, right? And where you're heading, it's important. It matters. Don't give up on it. No matter what gets in your way, don't give up. You were meant to answer this call. It's your destiny.